Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We have reached episode 812. It's being recorded on February 26, 2025. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I believe I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm still Brett Van Spremberg.
And I'm Kent Burgess.
You can find out how to support PCPer by going to patreon.com/PCPer. We are one of the only YouTube channels that I've ever heard of that actually has a Patreon account. It's this special service where you can throw money at us to continue doing what we're doing this very day, this podcast eve.
Or if you pay us enough every week, we won't do it at all.
That is, I mean, it's possible, not likely, but I mean, it's possible.
Hey, when you throw money at us, put it in the comments. Send us a message like, hey, just don't podcast, please. And then if you send us enough, we actually won't. Anyway, Brett, do you have an update
We'll
there?
just go and take a nap instead.
One brief update from Sean M, or maybe it's Scene. I mean, I'm always a little bit confused by the Scene Sean's.
No,
I mean,
it's Sean. You
okay? It's Sean. Yeah, but I mean, it's Scene. I'm a little whatever.
You're
anyway,
saying
the point
Sean
is
is being seen.
Yeah, I am. Thank you very much, Sean, for the support this month. And there's so much we're going to do with that.
Yeah,
we're going to buy Josh a burger next week.
Well, we don't know what's going on with that. In fact, let's get right into it. Our top story this week: Josh ate lunch, and he wants to talk about it.
Yes. So I had a day where I had to yell at the kids to go clean up the backyard because the dogs have been busy, and the snow finally kind of melted enough, and so it's all these hidden treasures came out, and I asked them to collect it, and they were recalcitrant, and so it made me unhappy, as children tend to do. So then I left after trying to help out a little bit, and it was time to go back to work, but I needed to go and drop off and try something. And there was no burger special, and none of the burgers looked at all appetizing, but they did have what they called their special Cujo sauce that they brought back for their wings. And Cujo sauce is a yakitori-based sauce that is mixed with Angry Buffalo. And how that got to be Cujo is, well, I guess it's sweet, but with a bite. And, so I got 10 wings, not smoked, sadly. They were all out of smoked wings by the time I got there. Apparently, the smoked wings were very popular this week. I had a few veggies. I had some tots, and I ate them all. And they were pretty good. And yes, that's blue cheese.
Thank you.
Not ranch.
It looks a little mayonnaise-y or ranch-like, but I'm glad to hear that you got
it
the
is.
correct
It is definitely blue cheese.
dressing.
So, yeah, I had to have some wings. I just didn't feel like a burger. I'm not disappointed in my my choice. The tots were nicely done, crisp on the outside, flaky on the inside. A little bit of condensation from it's condensation from because it's put in there hot, and I had to take it to my work, which was a couple miles away. So, but luckily, it didn't make things soggy. I got it opened up in time. Lucky for me. So anyway, that's my lunch from Born in a Barn. They did it again with a pretty good set of wings, and I was happy. It could have been a little hotter. I really wish there was a little bit more heat to it, but still tasted good. Their blue cheese is made in-house, so, it's all good stuff.
It's time for the PC Perspective News Desk. We're going to go to videocards.com. Our reporter on the scene, Micro Center, lists Radeon RX 9070 series early. The price for the 9070 XT is kind of what we expected. It's what Josh has been predicting, $699. But the 9070 non-XT at $649, just $50 less. Please tell me they're just debating again, because of course the proximity of this launch with the RTX 5070, I think they're like a day apart. Is this just a placeholder? Could this possibly be real?
Every time I hear debated, I think of the Ramones. I want to be debated, but no, we really don't want to be debated. I wonder if this is true, then AMD is giving their partners a lot of leeway in what they're doing. But that Power Color RX 9070 Reaper for $1,100, I just don't think that's real. And especially when the XT is $1 more. No, 1 cent more. So these prices don't make any sense.
Or dollars.
This is like the Chewbacca defense.
If the price doesn't fit, it must be.
What?
Wait,
He'll rip your arm off? I don't know.
Exactly.
You've never heard of the
let the
Chewbacca
Wookiee-
defense? It's a classic.
let the
South
Wookiee
Park.
The
win.
Wookiee win?
Let the Wookiee
No,
win.
no.
South Park.
Chewbacca is a Wookiee. Ewoks are from Endor. Why is Chewbacca on Endor? It makes no sense.
Because they were originally going to have it on Kashyyyk, but they scaled it back considerably. Remember, there were going to be at least two Death
Oh,
Stars.
nice pun.
You just need to
There were-
look at the
there were
Chewbacca defense.
two
I
Death
can't believe I'm
Stars.
having to explain this.
There was Kashyyyk.
Midget's
there was all
working
these
on
Wookiees.
scale
It,
was
it
cheaper
turns
than-
You
out
started it.
that it was a lot less expensive to have, I don't even know what the correct term is, little people, whatever, in smaller suits than it was to have a bunch of people in Wookiee costumes. So that's what they did.
Because they were
Plus,
working
it
on
allowed
scale,
Lucas to create
and
like a cute, furry character that he could make a little spin-off children's animated franchise out of.
And some money on figures. And yeah.
Well, he was good at it.
Hey, at that point,
Hey,
Star
I
Wars had
watched
just become
all
the
those.
way he wanted to finance the rest of his endeavors.
Yes.
So has AMD announced any upcoming announcements?
Yes, the 28th. You can RSVP for their video announcement. So
Okay.
RSVP, so you can be invited to something that's being broadcast freely
YouTube.com/AMD.
on the internet.
Yeah.
But you got to RSVP.
By the time you're watching this or listening to this, it will be just hours away from the official reveal with official pricing. But what I want to know is, will that even be official pricing? Because that's still before the 5070 launch. Or was this always going to compete with the 5070 Ti? And we already had that launch. We already know what that costs. So maybe it is going to be final pricing. But I can't believe it'll be $649 for the non-XT. But let me just play, I don't know if it's devil's advocate. I'm just being pessimistic here. I was telling Josh earlier, I think that the XT performance is going to really impress people. Just a guess. It's not like I'm benchmarking it and, revealing anything early, because I'm absolutely not doing that. What I am saying is, hypothetically, if the 9070 XT performance is impressive, that card is going to sell out at $699 instantly.
Oh, you mean like every other card that's been released in the last year?
Right, because you might think that scalpers just target NVIDIA, but if there's a attractive Radeon GPU out there at a very attractive price point compared to what, say, the 5070 Ti or 5080 are selling for, then yeah, I feel like those are going to get just scooped up.
The only thing that is going to be a saving grace here is that AMD and their partners have been shipping these to physical stores, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
So Micro Centers, Best Buys, you've got a pretty good chance, probably,
They're
picking
stockpiled
up
right now.
an XT.
Yes. I think that we need to be cautious about that because, yes, they all have stock, but they have stock because this launch was supposed to happen 2 months ago. So the stock is there. I don't know if they've just been definitely the stock levels will be better than NVIDIA's latest launch from all indications. But if it's a high performance GPU and it's $699 or less, then I can't imagine it won't sell very, very well, even if it's just selling to scalpers who will then inflate the price and make a couple $100 per GPU. At that point, the non-XT being $649 is meaningless because the MSRPs will be all over the map.
Yeah, no. Hey, at least this spring, / late winter, has been kind of interesting. I can't complain about the amount of stuff that we've been having to talk about and getting to talk about, the things that we've gotten to do in the background and things that we've attended and been able to listen to. But you can, actually pinpoint when AMD did their general editors day, because the day after everything was leaked. And I'm pretty sure that's why they didn't announce the price then, because they wanted to keep people still guessing and not sure where they're going to be. But yeah, it's going to be a fun launch, I think, for some people, especially if you can actually pick a card up and they're reasonably priced. So good luck. I'm not sure what the future holds there.
Some of those early indications of the performance level have been either leaked or somebody's just fabricating stuff in a very convincing way. Because another story at Video Cards, it says, yes, we have official figures. Here's how fast RDNA 4 is according to AMD. And they have some what appear to be screenshots from slides saying that AMD is calling this 42% faster than a 7900 GRE at 4K Ultra.
Which is a famous card for playing at 4K Ultra.
Right. I don't know if this involves
it's definitely what you want to
FSR
go
or anything,
for.
but
That was one of my thoughts as well here.
so we have the 9070 XT versus the GRE at 1440 Ultra is 38% faster, average of 30 games, versus the 7900 XT, it's 51% faster at 4K max. The 9070 non-XT versus the GRE, 20% faster, it says, at 1440.
You can go from 20 to 27 frames a second.
I was getting ready to say the exact same thing.
It's all about price.
Oh, hey.
These are not going to be faster than like a 5080, for example, I don't think. But they're going to be a very attractive value proposition.
There's a bunch of 5070 Ti's on eBay right now for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,400.
So affordable.
Yes, just the price of a gaming PC. You could own a mid-tier current gen graphics card. Now, on the subject of the 50 series, I'm glad you brought that up, Kent. More than just melting power connectors, because we have something else to talk about. We have ROPgate. There have been multiple reports of every GPU in the RTX 50 series having missing ROPs in. Let's see. The Verge, I have the story pulled up because The Verge, Sean Hollister got a reply from NVIDIA. There's an official statement here. Quote, we have identified a rare issue affecting less than 0.5%, 0.5%, of GeForce RTX 5090, 5090D, RTX 5080, and 5070 Ti GPUs, which have one fewer ROP than specified. The average graphical performance impact is 4%, with no impact on AI and compute workloads. Affected
Thank God AI and compute weren't affected.
Can contact the board manufacturer for a replacement. The production anomaly has been corrected, end quote. So the sad thing about this to me is, okay, they're absolutely going to replace your GPU. And how long will that be? So if you're not one of these conspiracy theorists who thinks that NVIDIA is artificially limiting supply of the 50 series, then you might be waiting a while to get a replacement unit from your retailer.
What's the difference between artificially limiting and intentionally limiting?
There is no difference.
From this side,
just
not a lot.
No.
No.
All there is wafer allocation. And you looking at those wafers and saying, how big of margins do I really want to make on every chip that's sold on that?
Yep.
$10 a millimeter or $100 a millimeter?
It's a lot of figuring out, and we'll hear exactly how much they chose margins soon.
Yeah, we'll talk about NVIDIA's quarter in a little bit. I think after the story, we've talked about an NVIDIA defect. Let's also talk about an AMD defect. This is kind of odd, though. I think it's related to voltage.
Is it AMD's, though?
Bad voltage behavior.
Or is it ASRock? Yeah.
The 9800X3D, and it seems to be, according to this Reddit mega thread, that the vast majority of people having issues with their X3D are on ASRock motherboards. And ASRock and AMD are aware of the report, says Tom's Hardware, but the cause remains unknown. What was it last time? It was voltage. It was running the memory at too high a voltage, and then the thing would blow up.
What was it before the time before that? What was voltage?
What was it with Intel? It was voltage.
Oh, that was voltage.
So, summary of dead 9800X3D reports in the Megathread feature over 40 user reports of dead CPUs. This is the entire market for AM5 now. Nobody's buying any other processor. It's like 87% of all Zen 5 sales are in the 9800X3D. So, of course, you're going to have more dead CPUs when it's the only one anybody's buying. It's not like this is spread across like 97 and 9600 SKUs and 9900 SKUs. So just, I wouldn't be worried about this unless you're on an ASRock board and they don't know what the problem is. So they haven't been able to issue a BIOS fix.
I mean, they've shipped millions of them so far.
Yeah.
And there are people reporting 40. I mean, and that's only just, like one subgroup on the internet. But if you think that it would be a bigger issue, you would hear a lot more. And I'm not trying to, sweep this under the rug. I'm not saying that they don't have some quality control issues that obviously they need to squash. And especially if it's, really focused on ASRock boards, it's a good indicator of, hey, if we catch this early enough, maybe we can apply enough fixes that this won't be an issue. So yeah, I'm not worried about it, but it's good that they're paying attention to it.
And now it's time for the financial segment of this week's podcast. Josh, you want to talk about NVIDIA financials?
Do we have to?
No, we don't.
Yes.
Oh,
I guess
okay.
we do. Well, we don't, but we're going to. So this is, of course, the end of their Q4 fiscal year 25, which is always kind of a fun and interesting way that NVIDIA likes to count financial quarters. They decided way back in the day when they made their IPO that this is going to be the date that they're going to be announced and what kind of calendar year they're using. And it stinks and it's dumb, but I don't know why they did it. But yeah, we're in their fourth quarter of 2025. They've had a really good quarter. They made almost $40 billion. That's $39.331 billion of revenue. Damn near up 78% year on year, quarter on quarter up another 12%. Their gross margin did drop a little bit. It's down to 73% because they had to, do some of their wafer allocation to desktop chips to, try to support us poor gamers instead of just the big AI guys. And so, yeah, their gross margin went down a little bit, but their net income was $22 billion. That's net income. That's just profit.
No, that's just gross is what that is.
Well, it's net. It's not gross. But yeah, no, I mean their margins are insane. I mean, for the longest time, everybody thought Intel at about 60% was just the best you can get. They controlled their entire stack. They had 85% plus of the market that they were existing in. How could you get any better? Well, NVIDIA came along and they showed them exactly how much better they could be. I mean, they have a near monopoly because of software. They've got a hardware stack that's really impressive. They've been doing their DGX stuff for ages. They've been, making CUDA an institution in all of itself. So these are all very, very, very positive things. The revenue for the entire year was $130.5 billion. And their gross margin was 75%. They're doing well. Now, obviously, out of that 39 billion, their data center made up 35.6 billion of that. 16% increase over the previous quarter, 93% from a year ago. That's just insane. I mean, when DeepSeek came out and all that news, I mean, their stock price dropped. And everybody's panicking and saying, well, orders for AI chips are going to go down. NVIDIA is going to drop like a rock. Nobody's going to buy this stuff anymore because they're just going to run all this DeepSeek type stuff on what we have now, and they don't need to invest in anything more. And that's as wrong as you could possibly get, because in fact, DeepSeek makes it more accessible for a larger amount of applications, that it makes it cheaper to train this so that you can then get your application out there, but you still need all of that hardware to run your stuff from the cloud. And they're still looking at ways to actually try to make money off of AI. So until that point comes, I mean, we just see this huge uptake of hardware. And probably one of the biggest things was in Q1 is typically the worst quarter of the year. I mean, if you follow any financials whatsoever, that's just a given. I mean, the post-holiday season, people aren't spending as much. Inventories kind of builds up. Prices go down. It's not the best quarter. Well, they're expecting revenue of $43 billion. So that's another $4 billion on top of this quarter, which was Q4, what's supposed to be their best quarter of the entire year. So it's not slowing down. They're, in fact, selling more than ever. They claim that the Blackwell generation is the fastest ramping family of chips that they've ever had. Obviously, the vast majority of this is going into the AI stuff and data center. But we're still getting, tens of thousands of chips being sent to consumers, and more being, created and made and fabricated and eventually sent out. The demand is there for this stuff because, one, there's no more RTX 4000 series that you can buy other than the 4060 and a couple instances of a 4070 that's still overpriced. And AMD is also, kind of shut down their 7000 series. You can get, a 7900 XT here and there, but those prices are now starting to get to the point where you just don't want to buy one. And so the demand is there. And again, this is going to be interesting to see what AMD does and what they're able to do here in 2 weeks. But yeah, or is it a week and a half? No, it's the 5th, right? Next week. 5th to 6th. I can't remember when they're working it. But regardless, it's all blue sky over at NVIDIA. They just keep making more and more money. They're a money-making machine. As I said in my tweet earlier today, it's nuts how this company has exploded. I looked at previous years. 2020 was a big year for them. That was, when mining was really at its peak, and they were selling out about their entire 3000 series of chips. And they made $10.8 billion or $10.9 billion, somewhere around there, that entire year. 5 years before that, they were, right around $4 to $5 billion in yearly revenue. And in 10 years, they've gone from $4 billion a year to 130.5 billion. That's
at a 75% margin, wasn't it?
Yeah,
75%, and that was a low because it had gotten up to 76% a couple quarters ago.
Oh,
almost 77. So yeah, they dropped a bit, but holy cow, it's a little insane.
Because this is the year that the AI companies are going to get their ROI.
Yes,
This is the generation from NVIDIA that's going to do it. Or next generation, maybe.
until the executives don't get their bonuses, because yet again the expenditure didn't result in any actual profitability.
But Jensen doesn't care, because right
It takes
now
a couple of years for stuff to get kind of, scaled back. And let's move on to storage. It's a safe topic. In Samsung, they might have the fastest SSD in the world when this comes out. the 9100 Pro series. It's PCIe 5. They're advertising transfer speeds of up to 13,400 writes and 14,800 reads. That's even faster than the crucial T705. That's about as fast as it gets for a Gen 5 SSD.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time Samsung will be offering an NVMe drive in 8 terabytes. Believe it or not. They haven't done that before. And they're saying not only is it faster, but it also is consuming less power. This is an in-house controller from Samsung. It's their TLC NAND. Plenty of cache.
As there should. Well, what about intelligent turbo write?
I don't know. Intelligent Turbo Write 2.0. I'm guessing that's a cache, so they're probably doing some kind of
I'm
caching,
assuming it's rebranded.
as well as oh man. So there's hardware cache memory, 1 gigabyte for the 1 terabyte, 2 gigabytes for the 2 terabyte, and so on.
Also known as RAM.
Yes. And then you also have some kind of SLC style caching, I'm assuming.
That's what it
Be
is.
a good assumption.
And this looks very fast. So the sweet spot's going to be
10% of the drive. That's not bad.
Interesting. Usually the 2 terabytes the one with the best performance overall, and this time it's the 4.
Yeah.
You get the highest sequential reads at 4 terabytes, though it is apparently matched by the 8. So that's going to be the darling drive, I bet, of really high-end gaming systems, is get that 8 terabyte.
I'm going to guess it's the power.
Pro.
I'm going to guess it's the power because they're feeding that 4 gigabyte, a smidge more power there.
Yeah, a lot of things say TBD on this chart for the 8.
But I mean, 0.5 watt between the 1 and the 2, and then from the 2 to the 4 is 0.9 watt. There's your extra performance.
Mm-hmm.
But don't worry, it won't get toasty at all.
So MSRPs and availability. Coming next month, the 1 terabyte is going to be $199, 2 terabytes $299, 4 terabytes $549. But they haven't announced a price on the 8 yet, and they say it's coming in the second half of this year. Another thing, though, about Samsung drives is they have these MSRPs, and then when the stuff hits, like Amazon, Newegg, they're usually less.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the introductory prices will look like. But very fast new SSDs from Samsung. They don't want to be behind anymore. They used to be the absolute king. Every time an Evo or a Pro would come out, it was the fastest SSD. And these days, it's like Western Digital.
Intel,
Commercial. Yeah, that's true.
Damn you, Phison.
Yeah. What do they got
happened.
going on these days? We need to have Alan on soon.
Some fancy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right, speaking of fancy stuff, Framework. They've announced their 2nd gen lineup. And there's a new desktop that's been all over social media today.
Yeah.
They have new laptops as well. Jeremy, you wrote this up, right? You want to tell us about what's going on with Framework?
No.
Okay.
So everyone's upset about this desktop because, my God, the RAM is soldered on so that you get the full actual bandwidth from it as opposed to plugged in, and it's really not modular at all.
It's Strix.
Yeah,
it's the AMD Strix. So it's got a 256-bit memory bus. How is that a bad thing?
People are upset about this, Josh, because now they're stuck with 128 gigs of RAM, and they can't do anything
that must
about
be
it
terrible.
until they buy a new computer from the 3rd generation of Framework. So people are really pissed about something that's kind of dumb. And I understand, because when Framework first came out, the whole idea was modularity, right? You can upgrade your motherboard. You can upgrade your CPU. You can swap in. You don't want USB-C anymore. You want USB 4? Fine. Plug out one chiclet, put in another one, and away you go. I mean, that's not what they went for the desktop. What they went for is something that can beat the pants off of just about any other mini ITX gaming PC on the planet, unless you're spending a hugely large amount of money. I mean, their top one is $2,000 for 128 gigs of Strix memory, as we mentioned, and the Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. This is not bad at all. if you were to try and match that with a NUC knockoff, you're going to be paying half again. You'll be 28 to 3,000 for that. So the nice thing about this is they're offering choices. You know, they've got 3 different flavors going from 1,100 up to 2,000, or skip out the case and essentially cut $300 off of the price of the case, or of the price of the system, and stick it in whatever case you would like. But the case they've done is actually pretty interesting, and as you can see at the very bottom there is some modularity, at least for the inputs and outputs. And you can make the case look as funky as you want. You can have it all green, all black, or you can get little just chiclets and make it whatever pattern you'd like. So I think it's an interesting idea. It's very different from the original framework, but at the same time, it makes sense for a desktop. Because honestly, you could just, when the next generation comes out, pull out the entire motherboard, throw it onto another system, put in the brand new one. It's probably going to work just perfectly fine. So I don't know. It's much.
They're already selling into batch 5.
Yes.
Batches 1 through 4 sold out. Scroll down a little bit, Sebastian, and remember,
same.
But it's the Max 399.
Yeah,
16 cores, 32 threads.
Yes, over 5 gigs.
Cores. That's like apparently a little bit better than RTX 4070 performance, and this is in a all-in-one chip.
And these are very competitive prices compared to something like Apple's Mac Studio.
4070 on its own?
No, I'm just saying, for something integrated like this and small, in the CPU count and the graphics count and the memory capacity,
it's
is very
4.5
to
liters.
Mac Studio, and it's $900.
It's the size of a bloody Xbox.
It looks smaller than that compared to that banana on the previous page.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. It's a hefty, well endowed banana, but still, yeah, it's tiny.
Also, how much does a 9950 go for? $600, $700?
Yeah.
So that's 16 cores, 32 threads right there.
Yeah.
And another 128 gigs of memory is $400. And you're getting half the bandwidth on the CPU, and then you got to buy another video card that is unavailable at $600, $500 to $500. Yeah, all those things.
You're well above $2,000 at this point.
And you get an NPU.
Yeah,
the AI cores.
I feel like
it is Copilot Plus compatible.
I feel like this is the competitor right here. You have the 12 core with a 30 core GPU, the 16 core neural engine, 32 gigs of unified memory, and that's $2,000 if you get that from Apple. So you get that from Framework, and it's even more CPU cores, more GPU cores, probably a lot better GPU performance. They have Apple has a ton of bandwidth from that unified memory, but
yes,
you don't get the max
so
bandwidth unless you go with how much bandwidth do they have?
256 gigabytes.
Well, 256, and isn't it like LPDDR 8000?
Something like that, I believe, yes. I mean, whatever it is, you're stuck with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
256 gigabytes a second. What are you doing that you need more? That you're not willing to spend more than $2,000 on?
So it's
other than that,
75 gigabytes per second. Is that what this says?
400 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth on the 1999 version.
Okay, that's
Max.
Right.
That's impressive.
I meant for like Strix, because the Apple is more bandwidth, but it also costs a lot more money for the high end one. I think even the entry level Mac Studio is 400 gigibytes per second of memory.
That's correct. It's 800 for the next step up.
Right. So according to this AI overview, it's 275 gigabytes per second from Strix Halo.
Yeah,
so
but
it's less memory bandwidth, but it's not. You're not locked to Apple Mac OS on an ARM platform either. All right.
I mean, the framework laptop 13. The impressive thing about it is it's now again Ryzen AI powered. And they sort of upped the USB-C a little bit because a lot of people were complaining the original one that only 3 of the 4 ports would do display output. Now all of them do. And they've cranked up the 2 rear USBs to be full 40 gigabits, USB 4. The one that people are sort of torn about is this brand new laptop 12. The 12.2-inch 1920 by 1200 touchscreen that looks sort of like an Asus Yoga or one of those fully convertible ones. But people are a little bit annoyed because it's shipping with a 13th gen Core i3 or Core i5. This is not a brand new part, obviously. But they've kept the price relatively affordable. And honestly, you're in a 12.2-inch form factor. You don't want one of the newer chips. It's going to get really toasty, or you're going to have to go to one of the new really expensive Intels, which is kind of going to destroy the whole point of the somewhat inexpensive 12.2, which is brand new. And this is why they've introduced it is, hey, I like a framework laptop, but I'd like one that was really, really cheap. Like, here you go. And hey, it looks a lot like a Yoga. You'll like it. It probably only has a single DDR5 slot because they say it supports up to 48 gigs. And well, now we've got those. So that does suggest that that is one more limitation on it. But it's, again, fully modular. If you're looking for something incredibly cheap that is going to be powerful enough for you to do what you need to do, because it's a 13th gen. It's fine. This is so much better than a netbook.
That's true. Almost everything's better than a netbook.
True.
All right. Next, from 404. All 50 states have now introduced right to repair legislation. It's not passed everywhere.
Even the state of John Deere?
But even, every state.
It's that is actually brought up.
It is, because they're really, really mad.
Yeah, they are. The farmers would like to be able to repair their equipment. I mean, this isn't just for McDonald's shake machines anymore. This is for phones,
The
computers.
funny thing is that farmers are not buying John Deere anymore, and John Deere is getting even more upset.
That's actually part of the movement. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying this graph. Like this, there's such a vocal group of people in favor of right to repair, and for good reason. But if you actually look at the map, there's 3 states that have actually passed it.
Yeah, but at least it's on. It's it's on the board, it's on the docket. It's legislation has been input at all 50 states, which is a milestone. It's kind of. I felt like this was the lone voice in the wilderness for a while with Louis Rossmann and co. kind of championing this for so long. I know that he wasn't the only person that was behind this and all that, but he has been kind of out there. He's been a voice of reason. I think this particular movement was sabotaged in a lot of ways in a lot of states in a lot of courtrooms by special interest groups. And yes, unfortunately.
Anyone want to guess what the last state was? I mean, not you, because you know, Brett.
Not the last state. No. Why? It wasn't Virginia, was it?
No, it was Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, Wisconsin was the last state. Yeah. You'd think with the farming that's going on there, but the point here is that even though that's gotten right to repair, this isn't the sort of the last step. This is still part of a journey for a lot of people, and it's not what you think it is. It's an important step, but it will be a while before we actually get to where we imagine that those words mean what we think it should mean. Right to repair.
It's a homemade wedge in the door.
Yeah, it is.
So sort of tangentially related to right to repair is the right to keep your device longer and not be forced to upgrade every 2 or 3 years. And there are now 8 years of updates promised for new Android phones. That's ridiculous. Can you imagine keeping a phone in working condition for 8 years? Well, that could be the future. Qualcomm and Google doing the right thing.
For the Snapdragon 7, 8, and 8 Elite. So these are not the lower end phones. These are the flagship phones. But the thing is, it's not so much that you're going to keep that phone for 8 years. Once you get bored of it, and we're no longer in the generation of, the next generation of phone comes out, I'm just throwing this one away and standing in line to get the new one. Because half the time it's still the same as the old one. It's just got 18 more pixels on the screen. It's the hand-me-down, right? Oh, I don't want this one anymore. I finally picked up a new one. This one still charges mostly. Does anyone want it? Or do you want to turn it into a baby monitor or use it for something random like that? And hey, brilliant idea, doing the recycle thing. But the problem is that it no longer gets security updates. And it's not a good thing to have this lying around because it's attached to your Wi-Fi, which everything else you own is attached to. So it becomes a bit of a problem. So the idea that they're promising, at least on the flagship platforms, to support 8 years of security updates and OS updates is a huge thing. And I hope this sort of spreads out into the IoT business, because in that case, it's like, well, 8 months and then we're abandoning it and making a new one. And no, your old one, well, it doesn't exist anymore. We don't even want to admit that we ever made that thing. So I'd like to see this. And the other thing is that they've promised for the next 5 generations, they're going to keep this pledge. We'll see if it lasts past 2, but it's at least a good news, because honestly, if you have managed to keep that thing alive, you deserve security updates. You should get them. And if you want to pass it down to someone and then they pass it down to someone else, hey, after 8 years, if that thing's still working, it's actually an old Nokia phone that someone else put in a different body, because there's no way a modern phone would last that long.
Who's subsidizing this? Is it just there's going to be a department of Google that's just going to be, okay, well, here's another Android update for Snapdragon, 7 series and 825s and 835s and.
Well, it could be, spoiler alert, there won't be any major advances in your mobile technology for the next 8 years, and that makes it really easy to make it.
That's true. I mean,
your 7-year-old phone is the same.
All you really need to do.
That was my point at the beginning. How many times do you get a brand new iPhone 812? And well, this is the same
but that's
as the 810
the best
through the 811
iPhone ever. Tim Cook said this was the best iPhone we've ever made.
Hands down, this is the best iPhone we've ever made.
This one's made with titanium. It's the best iPhone we've ever made.
Don't touch it. You'll ruin the reception.
Look, holding it wrong, that's a thing of the past.
It is. They gave out free bumpers. Don't look.
They don't do that anymore.
Solved the problem.
Our 2 original NVIDIA Shields got a new update about 2 weeks ago. And those things are like 12 or 13 years old now. Mm-hmm. I was shocked.
How did they get the update when they were propping up the table so it didn't wobble anymore?
Are those the ones with the fold-out screen?
No, not the Shield console, but the
tablet,
the Shield TV.
Oh, the Shield TV. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
those
okay.
are ancient now. Wow. I have one of those.
They work great
now.
Okay. It's probably a hell of a lot better than almost anything you can buy, though. It may be old, but it still beats the hell out of a Fire Stick or one of those little $30
yes,
Rokus.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah, the NVIDIA had an entire group in Fort Collins that just worked on all of the broadcast TV, all of that. It was a big deal because they thought that they were going to be kind of the entertainment center of the future, and they invested heavily in that stuff. So yeah, it makes sense that it works really well, except I remember I got their dual input cable tuner. It's somewhere sitting up there, and this was supported for a year because the year after, they released it, and the year after that is when they cut off all the analog signal by law. So,
so
otherwise it was
off the
that was an awesome card. The TV quality was great. It did all kinds of interesting filtering and sharpening and moire mitigation and stuff like that. And it was, great output for HD TVs from your PC. And then they
killed it.
Yeah, they killed it dead.
And now a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
We talk quite a bit about privacy here, and we all know about the lurking dangers of a data breach and identity theft. Unfortunately, that job gets a bit easier for scammers, spammers, con artists, and marketers because they're using the services of massive data brokers which exist online. These brokers have databases with your personal information like names, addresses, and even your online activities. They will harvest and sell your data all around the internet, which unfortunately includes various bad actors. You have now lost control of all your personal data and could be at the risk of identity theft, mail and email spamming, and data leaks via system breaches. To prevent your information from getting away from you, we invite you to take a look at this protective service from Incogni. You have the right to safeguard your own data, and you can empower Incogni to reach out to these data brokers on your behalf to get your personal data removed. Let them deal with the difficulties, hassles, and objections. Incogni will continue to protect your data by staying on top of these brokers to repeatedly request removals as they recollect your information. Yes, that actually happens. Incogni even supports a family and friends plan to spread the benefits around. Get control of your data privacy and visit Incogni.com. Sign up and enjoy a 30-day money-back guarantee to ensure you're completely satisfied with our service. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code PCPerspective at Incogni.com/PCPerspective. That's code PCPerspective at Incogni.com/PCPerspective.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
Our first story is from Bleeping Computer. EncryptHub breaches 618 orgs to deploy info stealers and ransomware.
Jeremy,
he was
you wrote
pretending
this
to be
one.
Cisco AnyConnect. He was pretending to be Fortinet. He was pretending to be Microsoft 359. Essentially just any sort of IT type corporate software was what this guy was targeting. And so they managed to
impersonation of the legitimate to take advantage of the people who aren't paying attention.
And the best part is that, yes, it's about time, he's using phishing pages and boom, oh, I should be triggering an MFA, which we will send. And you reply to the MFA like a good person. Oh, yeah, I've done that. Except he's now capturing the session cookie in transit between his phishing page to where you actually want to be. And guess what? Now he's got you.
Well, he's also doing this because he bought up domains that mimicked closely named trusted entities, such as
WebLink Teams.
WebCisco.com,
I like that one.
Stuff like that, WebLinkTeams.com. So he's trying to mimic actual legitimate organizations to make it seem like, oh, this is just a subdomain, that I can authenticate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't.
And then once he's in, I mean, it's PowerShell time. And they do fun stuff. And the other thing was that if that didn't work, well, I'm going to impersonate the service desk. And, oh, no, we need to do a TeamViewer connection. And now all of a sudden they're in the system that they've already compromised to a certain extent via this phishing page and are now actually hooked up to that machine via Screen Connect, pretending to be a service desk guy or gal, and is now running weird PowerShell scripts. Oh, don't worry, this will clear up your problem all completely. Oh, thanks. Oh, and here, I'll clean up some temporary files too so that your machine runs slightly quicker. And now, boom, they've deployed info stealers all over that system, which are now bouncing out to the entire network. It's really nasty. It's huge.
They're stealing your VPN client credentials. They're grabbing your password manager save files or save databases. They're installing cryptocurrency wallets and mining software. They're doing all the bad things. And
ransomware too. Once they steal everything, they encrypt it, and on their way out.
Mm-hmm. That's that's sort of like their final kiss off is a ransom your data.
But we're looking at 618 fairly large organizations, not Joe Blow's snowblower repair, but like large places. And these are all obviously targeted, so they've done the research beforehand to try and make things a little bit more effective. And apparently it's been really effective.
I mean, it's really a glorified spearfishing. It's just it's so large, it's hard to call it that. Usually, the spearfishing campaigns
it's more of a harpoon.
Smaller, but this is so highly, nicely tailored to the targets that it's hard not to call it what it is. Using fantastic obfuscation methods. It's unfortunately impressive.
Yeah, and I mean the Cisco login pages are the worst because they look exactly like them. Mm-hmm. And all they need is to grab one person, and now they know which VPN groups you have. Just that one quick screen share, and they grab a screen share of the drop down of the VPN things, and now you're literally looking at a Cisco SSL VPN page with your proper sites on it. Yeah, no, this is nasty, and I mean, I don't think I've been hit by it because we disabled Cisco for different reasons, but, pay attention.
Somebody might want to look at how to detect this one. I don't know yet.
Make sure you're going to the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Gmail is finally abandoning SMS verification, but according to Jeremy, they chose the worst alternative available.
QR codes. Why not? Let's go with something that's completely and totally human unreadable. So that if someone sends me a random QR code and says, hey, we just want your Gmail just tried to reconnect and we want to make sure that it's totally you. Just, scan this QR code on your phone with your Gmail account and cool. Everything's awesome. Yeah. So SMS is horrible. The ability to just randomly bribe some minimum wage person working at a phone company to transfer your phone number to a different SIM number or just intercepting it in between is child's play. QR codes are not that much better at all. Mm-hmm. Just randomly scanning it. And there's even the inconvenience of I'm checking my phone. It says, okay, well, to be able to get into your Gmail account on your phone, you need to scan this QR code. And there is also plenty of discount phones on the planet. They refuse to scan QR codes unless you dodge or download a ridiculously dodgy app from whatever Play Store you've got. They straight out, no, QR codes don't exist until you download this ad-supported one, which might be suggested to you by someone that you really don't want them to suggest this sort of thing. So if you've already set up proper 2FA or MFA if you prefer, and you're using Google Authenticator, this will not touch you at all. But in the next 4 or 5 months, according to what Ars Technica heard, they're going to replace the SMS texts with random frickin' QR codes. Will we never learn?
No.
Finally, in Security Corner, from Bleeping Computer, cracked Gary's mod, BeamNG.drive games infect gamers with minors.
It's just
not
a real quick...
miners, like crypto mining.
This is a real quick sort of public service announcement, as if we needed this reminder again and again. But apparently we do, because people keep doing this sort of thing. Don't download cracked versions of anything, because it's likely that you're going to be infected by something. So during the game's installation, they've got a malware dropper that's unpacked and launched in the background. Checks to see if it's running in a VM, a sandbox, or a debugger, and then proceeds.
And if it's not,
so it's got evasion. It terminates so that you can't find it. It's very, very good at hiding itself. So it decrypts and installs a malware loader, and then it poses as a Windows system file, and then it spawns and downloads the XMRig miner tool. Yeah, this is a Monero miner. It runs in a separate thread. It's pretty sweet from their side, using up all your spare CPU cycles.
But I guess the moral of the story, you're busy playing Gary's mod with a giant train for a head, and you have no idea what's going on.
It's just once again comes back around to just don't download the cracked stuff.
Don't
just don't. It's not worth it.
Just don't download things.
Maybe just unplug everything. It's really the safest way. And turn it off.
It is time for Gaming Quick Hits. And our first story, Warner Brothers has closed Monolith, the creators of Fear, Condemned, Shadow of Mordor, and Wonder Woman.
Didn't Monolith also do Shogo Mobile Armor?
Yep. Yep.
Way back in the day.
They did. They did Blood.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no one
They've
lives
been around
forever.
for 30 years. Yep. So Warner Brothers took a bunch of crap 2 days ago when they announced that they were canceling Wonder Woman. But I think that was just to distract people from the fact they murdered Monolith. Now, the quote is just awe-inspiring. We've had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises. Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. So, their key franchise, Harry Potter, as a single game, which hit mixed reviews. Is Mortal Kombat even still a thing? Maybe because I'm not a console player, I'm not aware that there's like a Mortal Kombat 12 or 13 or something, but is that really something people are looking forward to? Like, when they're looking for new game releases every year, it's the new Mortal Kombat we want? I'm pretty sure the only successful Game of Thrones game was from Cyanide. I think there's a mobile game. And then DC. So, they killed Wonder Woman, and what was the last one they released? Was it Suicide Squad? Was it the one that everyone hated because it was the worst bloody looter shooter going on the planet? So that's what they kept. They made sure there'll never be another Aliens versus Predator, another Fear, another Shadow of Mordor, so that they could keep the chance of having Suicide Squad 2. Warner Brothers used to be great back in the day, but then they changed their name to Warner Bros. And they've literally become evil. They also killed Warner Brothers Games San Diego, which I guess did a whole bunch of interesting things, and Player First Games, which actually put out a couple of games that some people played. I don't know. It's just, seriously, this is what you went with, was, yeah, we're going to kill all of our successful franchises to see how much bigger we can build this dumpster fire. Not that I'm upset or anything.
No, not at all. The next story comes from a site called Dexerto. Activision finally admits to using AI, and Call of Duty players aren't surprised at all. So they're doing AI-generated content. That makes sense.
Yeah, they're apparently dropping in lots of like seasonal stuff or pickups, mods. I think people are came to realize that when they saw, here's one, like the six-fingered Santa. It's kind of like the dead giveaway because
I thought Santa always had 6 fingers.
AIs have trouble with the hands, typically. But I'm sort of surprised that people are upset by this. I think I got a sense that people were kind of like put out by the fact that everything wasn't designed by humans for their game. I mean, for their video game.
I can understand being upset by it. I can't understand being surprised by it.
I think some people said they weren't surprised. They were just happy they finally admitted it.
Yes. Because this was obvious. This was known. This is not shocking in any way. What company was this again that did this?
Oh, this would be Loot Box. I misspoke. Yeah. I said Activision.
Yeah.
Well, so we can make more money and not pay anyone to do content that people will pay for. Then yes, let's do that.
Yes, so they can spend absolutely no effort at all and start charging money for it. Zero effort, pretty much.
Let's end this on a more uplifting note from Humble. The Humble Bumble includes, forget about Mortal Kombat. What about Street Fighter? Capcom Arcade Classics. You can get for $20, 70 items. Some of them are coupons, I think, but there's a lot of Street Fighter games in here.
There's a lot of Street Fighter, though.
It is a target-rich environment.
Yes.
And Mega Man. Let's see.
Mega Man, Final Fight, Captain Commando,
Ghosts and
Ghouls and Ghosts.
Ghosts and Goblins. No,
Ghosts and Goblins.
Yep.
And some looks like Japanese games, perhaps.
Lots of
just
Dynasty Wars.
It's like the Capcom back catalog of fighting duel games has been
these are all like
completely bundled
titles that you
they're
may never have
all
heard of
arcade.
before.
Oh yeah.
But there's a
All
lot of
arcade.
them. Now, maybe you could download a file from somewhere that would have all of these classic arcade games.
Oh, it'll probably be about 300 megs
but
total.
this way you can sleep at night because you actually paid and legally own them.
You didn't just pay; you donated money to a charity.
That's even
didn't-
better.
You didn't download the cracked version, right?
Well, you don't have to with ROMs, but anyway.
Right, okay.
Some of them are, I guess.
Anyway, this is all PC friendly stuff. It's going to launch and just
Yes.
run and be supported
Exactly.
and be, as fun as you remember. You should probably get a, make sure you got a controller for your PC.
Get one of those pads, like one of those arcade sticks.
Ooh, yeah.
Hook it up to your PC.
4 buttons. Yeah.
All right. It is time for picks of the week, Josh.
Oh, thank goodness. It's 9:33 here.
I know.
And I'm getting so tired. It seems like memory prices have stabilized. So if you want to jump to that next generation of DDR5 6000 that supports AMD processors with what I always want to think Epic, but it's not. It's Expo, which is epic in itself. For $189, but it's currently got a $12 coupon, so $177.99. Not horrible for 64 gigs of CAS 30 DDR5.
That's impressive that they have the CAS latency down that low for sticks that dense.
Yeah, and for that relatively inexpensive.
You gotta love Flare X. I feel like every generation G-Skills Flare X is probably about the best you can do for an AMD platform.
Yeah, it's not flashy, but it meets the specs. Doesn't overheat. So I don't know.
And if your boss
stuff. I
needs you
guess
to
that's
put
why it's
another
my
couple
pick.
of pieces of flare on, well,
Yeah,
you've got
yep.
them.
Jeremy, your pick this week.
Well, when tearing down the office, finishing tearing down the office last week, someone pulled a BlackBerry out of a drawer that shouldn't have been there. It should have been destroyed a long time ago. But a couple of us, man, I miss that keyboard. I hate typing on a touchscreen. It sucks so badly. And coincidentally, there was a interesting project that popped up on Hackaday, which is a BlackBerry Pi, which is essentially a Raspberry Pi shoved into a 3D printed enclosure, which has a BlackBerry style, not a BlackBerry keyboard on it, but a BlackBerry style keyboard, which I thought was just amazingly cute and obviously quite usable. It does have the BlackBerry button on it. It just doesn't do the same thing. But yes, it does play Snake. And then I saw the guy who did it, and I was just like totally in love because, I mean, with a mullet like that, he's a professional. So, hey, if you want to get your BlackBerry Pi into a new, or your Raspberry Pi into a new home, check out this BlackBerry Pi project. It will be a very impressive mobile phone that will confuse a lot of people and probably rip a hole in your pocket. But hey.
Nice. Okay, Brett, your pick this week.
I was shopping for something unusual, and I came across these items. You know what? I just don't think there's enough mice out there modeled after like real things. So I happen to spot this mouse that's actually modeled after
you gods.
Volkswagen Bug. It's modeled after a Volkswagen Bug. It's wireless. Now I admit they call these like gaming mice and stuff like that. It's a novelty item, pure novelty, but it is.
It doesn't
very
look
interesting.
terribly ergonomic.
Look at the Mercedes.
the Mercedes looks worse.
SL550.
This one's for
The Bug at
10.
least has a nice curve on it.
Yeah, the Mercedes is less ergonomic, but so much more stylish. The headlights light up. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
It probably has
For
a
the
DPI too.
for the right moment, for just the right novelty moment. I thought these things were
For that
cool.
future LGR weird mouse video.
Yes.
Exactly.
Buy it now and donate
Yes.
to him later.
Kent, you've got to get the Mercedes one. You've got to get that one.
All right.
There's a lot of them out there. There's
Now,
like
hold out for the
Ferraris
Viper.
and
Oh yeah,
there's
there are a lot of
Ferraris and there's
bizarre-
a lot of them out there.
mice out there. Kent,
I'll get the Yugo.
your pick this week.
Yeah, for several weeks, I've been bemoaning the lack of nice, impressive hardware to be coming out that's available. So this week I just said, shuck it. Here's a 20 terabyte Western Digital external hard drive, $279. And should you wish to, you can shuck this drive and put it in a NAS or a PC. You will have to do the 3.3 volt tab mod on it, but that's not a big deal. And you'll have an extra 20 terabytes of storage at a pretty reasonable price and a reliable drive.
Thank you for that.
Mainly, I just wanted to say, shuck it.
Yes.
Understandable.
My pick this week, I was watching Mr. Mobile's latest video, and he's a co-founder of the Clicks keyboard company. And it's sad because he's mostly an Android-focused channel, and he's a huge like folding phone enthusiast and stuff. But when they came out with the product, because there are so many different Android devices out there, it was an iPhone product. So that was disappointing. Well, they've launched an Android version of it. It initially is coming out for the Google Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro. The real game changer, to me, this is the ultimate.
The slide.
It's not a slide. It's still part of the folding phone. This is a Motorola Razr. I have one of these phones, and they've added a keyboard, so it's very much like a BlackBerry. You have about a 4-inch screen. You have a physical keyboard. It's fantastic. And if you need the full, 6+ inch screen experience, you can unfold the phone. But most of the, almost everything you can do on this phone, you can do on the outer screen, unlike Samsung's variant of this. So get yourself a Motorola Razr. Get this when it comes out. You could have that Palm Pre or even sort of a BlackBerry-like experience. Curious about that when it's finally available for the Razr and other folding phones. Right now, it's just Google Pixel 9.
A first name, last name. The BlackBerry flip phone was a thing a long time ago, and it worked.
But there was a time when phones were interesting, where there was innovation happening, and now everything's a boring slab, and it is depressing.
You just missed the giant camera nipples on the Nokias.
Hey, this one has some pretty sizable ones of its own.
I blame
the
Steve
515, 530.
Yeah, the Apple.
That giant thing sticking out the end.
And with that, I think we have reached the end of another podcast. And we want to thank you all for sticking with us through 812 episodes of this program. If you're new to the show, welcome. And thank you. I don't know why you're still watching, but thank you for watching, listening, probably mostly listening to the show. And we'll do it all again next week. We'll probably have, let's see, will the releases be timed in such a way that we can't actually talk about them? Or I guess we can. We'll see. Embargoes, they have to be respected. So
how do they work?
Yeah. Till then.
Nobody knows.
Goodbye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.